is the CanMar Morning Talk Show, a fresh take on what's happening in the cannabis and psychedelic spaces. I'm your host, Melissa Jane Saidi. Join me as I sit down and have thought-provoking conversations with some of the industry's top experts and trendsetters from around the globe. Welcome back to the CanMar Morning Talk Show. Today's guest is Luc Richner, CEO and founder of CANNAVIGIA, Europe's pioneer compliance software for businesses to trace, secure, and simplify transactions along the entire cannabis supply chain. With over 12 years of experience in building and managing companies across various industries in Europe, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia, Luc is a seasoned entrepreneur. Stay tuned to hear more about what's happening with Switzerland's cannabis legislation, CANNAVIGIA's involvement with the Swiss pilot project, what the future holds, and stick around until the end to hear about the hilarious story of what happened when Luc and I met at ICBC in Berlin last year. Luc, welcome to the CanMar Morning Talk Show. It's really great to have you here today. How are you doing? How have you been? Tell us a little bit about what's been going on in your life.
Well, first of all, Melissa, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I've been well. Some would say maybe a bit busy. It's been a great start into the year. I've been traveling a lot, got to see a lot, and with everything that's happening in the industry, it's exciting times.
That is very true. It is exciting times.
And I'm good overall.
That's good to hear. So Luc, I usually like to just ask my guests to tell us a little bit about themselves. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself, just a brief introduction to who you are.
Well, my name is Luc Richner. I'm 36 years old. I live in Switzerland. I grew up in Hong Kong and Singapore, spent then, school and everything over here in Switzerland, studied logistics or did what we call here eine Lehre, 3 years in logistics, then tourism. The day I finished my studies in tourism, I took this to heart that I studied tourism, so I moved to Bali. I was there for 11 years in the end and set up a bunch of different businesses and endeavors and adventures and whatever you want to call it. They were not all businesses, but different journeys over there. And after 11 years, 3.5 years ago, I came back to Switzerland with the clear focus of opening CANNAVIGIA. One hand side also to do an MBA again, or do an MBA, which I've never done before, and kind of like challenge myself. I think they call it the second third of life, right? Where you want to prove yourself that you're still got it, especially after 11 years on a beautiful tropical island. It's good to challenge yourself again to see that you still function. So I had this idea with the compliance software, which I have a feeling we're going to be talking in a bit about. So did that, came back for that, and did the MBA during COVID, and here we are today.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, 11 years on a tropical island sounds awful.
Terrible. So I'm looking at Switzerland raining here in the back, so it's terrible.
And I know one of the ventures that you had in Bali was farm to table restaurants. I'd love to hear more about that. I know it was called the Savage Kitchen, and your nickname is also Luc the Savage, right? Please, I need to hear the backstory on all of this.
Yes. I had a restaurant, farm to table in Bali. Yes, it was called the Savage Kitchen. And my nickname, the Luc the Savage, was my boxing name. I boxed for charity, a charitable cause once. So since my opponent gave himself Tony the Tornado, I needed a savage name, and guess it was the closest there. No, maybe also had a bit to do with the, we were all savages at the time, living in Bali. A farm to table was a key of how we tried to nourish ourselves before that, being close with the farmers. living on a smaller tropical island. And one of my hobbies was spearfishing, and we used to go out and provide for ourselves and stuff like that. And well, surfing and the whole island style. The island style for some people probably a bit savage. We only shot what we ate ourselves. We prepared everything ourselves. So if you shoot something, you gotta also have the guts to degut it. So I guess
not such a pleasant experience, maybe.
Well, you know what? I think if you eat meat, you should go through that experience, because you actually owe that to whatever you consume, that you respectfully send it off. And it's very interesting when you eat a fish that you killed with a shot that completely straight away dies, compared to one that suffers. You taste the difference. And I'm not a pure big meat eater and so forth, and but it's these little things that stand out there. And the Savage Kitchen, concept wise, was farm to table. The whole idea was paleo, but in the Stone Age, the way we're supposed to eat back in the day. So that theme, Savage, pulled all the way through there.
That's very cool. That's very cool. It's a very different way of life that not a lot of people get to experience. So I think that's really incredible. And on the topic of food, cooking with cannabis is kind of a thing that's growing. That people are talking a lot about cannatourism. Do you ever cook with cannabis? And what are your thoughts on the future of this kind of movement?
I am a foodie. I really consider myself a foodie. I love cooking. I love preparing meals for my friends and family and whoever joins. Do I cook with cannabis? I might have made a cookie here and there once upon a time, but that's about it. I don't really think it's the tastiest plant. I love a lot of other herbs out there. Fun fact, in Sumatra and Indonesia, it's still allowed one plant per household for herbs, in a country where it's very, very illegal at the moment to, be affiliated with cannabis. So I believe there's a future in cannabis tourism. I believe there is a future in other kinds of appliances or applications for the plant. Do I see it more in a spa way than in food? I think it's more going to go the spa direction. It's nice. It's a gimmick. It's cute. It's kind of like nice decorative. And a fried flower is a fried flower is, a fried leaf is a fried leaf is always tasty. But I wouldn't say it's tasty because of the cannabis. But
it's a unique flavor.
But it's a unique flavor, and the palate is not used to it. And who knows? Who knows? I mean, in the end, a good chef can change any ingredient into a gem. So I'll be very happy to experience a meal cooked by some really good cannabis enthusiastic chefs out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you said, a good chef can really transform anything into something amazing. So let's see what happens, right? The future is wide open when it comes to the space. And, going back a little bit to what you mentioned early on about, being partially raised in Asia, Hong Kong and Singapore. And of course, I follow you on LinkedIn. I saw you were in Thailand as well recently. You were attending a conference there, right? I'd love to hear more about what's happening there. I had some friends who were in Thailand traveling a couple of months ago, and they said that there are just cannabis shops everywhere. So I'd love to hear from your perspective, what is happening in Thailand at the moment?
If anyone would only know what happens in Thailand at the moment. No, it's mayhem. It's mayhem. They decriminalized. And then they put the decriminalized aspects of it, and then went towards opening the market, specifically more focused in the beginning on natural medicines. In the end, you have towards the UN always some reportings you have to deliver, and natural medicines is one of the exemptions you can build legalization on. The other one is pilot projects, as we're doing it in Switzerland. But at the moment, and I'm not going to make too many friends out there with this, whenever cannabis gets a chance to prove itself, it just outdoes itself every single time. You have every 50 meters there is a coffee shop. Most of the weed, it's not cultivated in Thailand. You have, well, just every usual suspect from the industry around the world has washed ashore in Thailand and is trying their lucks, which unfortunately, like it has proven in many other markets globally before, this is not a quick race to be won. This is not a sprint. This is, a marathon, a long one for that. So a lot of people, again, jumped in with their hard-earned savings, open facilities that will probably not be able to hold through the standards that are going to be imposed very soon. So again, it's not a completely open market. It is actually highly regulated market where everybody thinks gray is white and then maneuvers themselves around those loopholes, which on the 14th of May is election. Election will show which direction it will go. Both parties are actually not talking too well about cannabis in their narratives. Simply because, again, it went overboard. People didn't stick to what they were supposed to stick to, et cetera, et cetera. But I am very bullish on the Thai cannabis, the outcome even after the elections. I think there's a lot of, it will go the right direction meaning not just because I work in compliance and so forth, but you need to have some kind of quality control. You need to have some kind of standards. Specifically in tropical countries like Thailand, drying is super important. There's a lot of moldy flower already now out there. And I myself have seen a lot of facilities that, you can't just dry your flower with 4 air conditions on dry mode. It doesn't work like that. There is a process. So this is something that will be tightened. Either which direction it goes, that already has been stated before. But what I like, and then I'll stop my ramble here. What I really like what Thailand did is it allowed for a market to be created. So there is sales, there is customers, there is actual money going into the industry. And now they're structuring it and tightening it up in a way that after that, you will have an industry that can finance itself. Other countries around Europe and other countries in Africa just only gave out licenses for productions for export without understanding where one can export to. So in the end, basically you had, North Macedonia, 60 plus facilities, or 60 plus licenses with 30 odd facilities that don't have an export basis. And so Thailand has done that right, in my opinion. And in general, it's a big country with a lot of people around. So once they kick things off over there, usually things just go in a different way.
Absolutely, and I think there's always a lot of excitement, especially in a place like Thailand, and everyone's kind of just wanting to jump in, but you have to take a step back, as you said, and that brings up, it's a perfect segue to kind of talk about CANNAVIGIA now and what you guys are doing over there. So first of all, I mean, you founded this in March 2020, slap bang in the middle of COVID. What was it like starting this business in the middle of a global pandemic? And talk a little bit about the inspiration and what brought you to create CANNAVIGIA.
With great pleasure. Yeah, well, we founded it a couple of days before the global lockdown. We went to we're actually the last. We were the last appointment at the office there at the notary, and he was like, everybody else is coming to hand in their bankruptcy notice and whatnot. You're the only ones that are coming in the last couple of weeks to really start a company. And we're like, well, you know what? We believe in this. And bold. What was the inspiration? But we started a year before that. We just really wanted to have it incorporated because we knew the offices will close. So you don't start the company and an idea with forming a legal entity the first day, right? There's a whole world of things that you should do before, because you wanna have certain assurance that you're not just setting up a legal entity for without a strong outcome. No, but the inspiration was one where when I had the restaurant in Bali, it was farm to table. 80 farmers, 80 farmers, 540 products all across Indonesia spread. And at that time, I started to try to implement some kind of software to help with the purchasing, stock control, distribution in that sense, with the idea to then trade also with some of the produce from those farmers, always with the idea of how can we communicate to the end consumer that this actually is proper, what is in there. It actually is organic, actually comes from a smallholder. We are not taking the lion's share of the profit here. Everybody is getting the amount that they should. And there was nothing that really translated it to the consumer. It was always either a software that was only the very purchasing in the beginning or part in the middle, but none of it kind of talked together. So it was also very exhausting to tell every time a customer comes like, oh, no, this is from there, and by the way, this is there, and just putting a sign up also didn't really cut the what I wanted to portray, but that's what other people do, right? Or you just get a stamp by a auditing firm or whatever. That's why our slogan is vigilance beyond certification, because it's not a one-time certification. It's a continuous assessment of your supply chain, or assessment. It's a management system for your supply chain. So that was the inspiration with the restaurant. And then in 2018, cannabis came to Thailand, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? I come originally from logistics, supply chain management, international trade. That's kind of the common denominator throughout my career outside of the restaurant business. And then I thought, you know what, I can look into how we can move products from A to B, how we can declare them, again, market accessibility through correct declaration. I didn't want to go through the bonded warehouse, in and out, relabeling and so forth. I always thought there has to be a different way. And in all of this mumbo jumbo of global fragmented legal frameworks and standardization, failing standardization across different markets, et cetera, there was a common denominator, and that was, in the end, all these standards are looking for who did what, when, how, and why. And if you can bring that kind of in a comprehensive format, then you got something that you can bridge the different standards with, and that was the main inspiration. And fast forward to today, I think something was right there.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And I think it's very interesting that you talk about fragmentation, because and people want something that's easy and that can take them through kind of the whole process. So maybe you can break it down in layman's terms for those who might not be familiar with what the process looks like, how exactly you guys can help a company or help take people through this kind of process.
Well, first of all, I always tell everyone, figure out who is your buyer. When you know who is your buyer, ask them what they want from you. Because in a normal non-cannabis supply chain, you sell your product before you produce it. So try to approach buyers. You would be surprised by the openness of buyers telling you, I need EU GACP, I need this, or I need that, or I need Israel Medical Cannabis Control Union Medical Cannabis Standard in Israel, or be it, if they only use it for if they use it for CBD. It really CBD production or further. It really depends what the end consumer, what your buyer. Let's stick now to the cultivation side for a second, because otherwise it gets complicated too fast. So your cultivator, who do you want to sell to? What standards does he ask from you? I can tell you most of them will not ask you to put EU GACP because that market is quite narrow. That's what everybody is talking about right now, because it sounds like you would all be able to sell to Germany, but Germany is already oversaturated. So really, what do you have as a buyer? What does the buyer want from a standard? And that's the basis for every kind of start, I would say. And then what we do from a company and software provider, the software is basically like a quality control, quality assurance, quality management system of your entire facility. It goes to the depth of EU GACP, EU GMP, but it goes also to the depth of to the base layer of food traceability, a global gap, because most of the time you don't need to go all that way. In Thailand, hint, there might be Thailand might have an own GACP standard that they're looking at to be used in the future, which is way less daunting than the EU one. So this is somebody might have picked up something in between there. I hope so. So basically,
wink.
wink, exactly. No, but it's really important because there's so many people that produce something that they go through the extra cost, and it costs you more if you want to do it in a pharmaceutical grade process flow. But if you don't have a buyer for that level of product, it doesn't make sense. So really that's the key thing. And then from the software wise, you basically created the digital twin of your facility. You identify every room, that's the setup, first phase setup. You identify every room, every machine, every moving object, every fixed object, every person that walks in and out, everything you use as be it fertilizers, be it any other substrates, etc. Everything becomes and identified, and then you have the system set up, and everywhere you have your little QR codes and stuff like that. And then once you have it all set up, you have your qualified person or master grower, depending a bit. Again, if you go pharmaceutical, you need a qualified person. If you go in any other direction, a master grower will suffice. And then they will control it. And the people that do the executing steps, all they have to do is they have the app, they go, they scan, okay, they scan this. I need to do this step, I need to do this step, okay, SOP pops up. Okay, so they need to know which work steps. Is there something wrong? Do they have to report something? And then there is no easy shortcut for compliance and standardization and traceability. I mean, there's shortcuts, but it will just bite you back afterwards. So a system is only as good as the person that feeds it. So we learned that, I wouldn't say we learned it the hard way. I think it's very normal in any industry. And I want to really highlight this. It's not just the adaptation of cannabis towards compliance and traceability in those systems. It's in every industry. Nobody likes to log every work step that they do. It is not something that comes natural with us. It makes us feel like we're being watched or patronized or whatever. But those are standards that have been written by people that didn't have enough things to do, so they wanted you to log jokes aside, it's really there is a thought process behind, because everything that goes in the beginning you can do something with later. And if you have a couple of batches going through and there's little things that you can't see or feel or understand in the moment when they happen, but if it all is nicely added up later, then you can also become more efficient, maybe tweak a little bit here, tweak a little bit there. So there's a lot of added benefits to this beautiful task of logging everything. So the system is set up like that. You set up your digital twin, and then after that, everything is done on the phone. It makes your reporting much. Actually, you save 40 to 50% at least on your logging, because normal paper-based systems, but still today most pharmaceutical companies have paper-based systems.
That's
where
crazy.
it's crazy, but because a lot of the qualified people that are in charge are of a bit of more seniority and senior age, that's what they're used to. And so this digital transformation in cannabis, it's nice because we start from a 0.0. I know we're not starting from a 0.0, but compared to other industries, we start from a 0.0. So the adaptation is a bit higher. And I hope that answered your question. I know absolutely. I went a bit further out again.
No, I think that's great. And I think, of course, as you said, nobody likes to have to log each and every single thing they do, but it's better, especially in this industry, to do things the right way from the get-go, especially when there's so much competition and, you want to have longevity as a company in the space. So I think that's really important. Do things the right way, people.
Competition is fierce, and it's getting fiercer. So doing things the right way also goes a long way when it comes to competitiveness and when it comes to standing a chance in the market. That's it.
For sure, for sure. And, I'd love to talk a little bit more, you were speaking a little bit about technology and things moving kind of into a digital space. What do you think about the future of kind of technology in the cannabis space? I see people doing a lot of interesting things like what you guys are doing. What are your thoughts? And especially cannabis online, people talking about selling cannabis online, doing all of these things. What are your thoughts on the future of cannabis technology, digital world?
I did an MBA on digital transformation, so digital leadership was the subject. What was the MBA theme, and the my thesis I did on basically future. It was a future foresight study that I had to do 30 to 50 years into the future, and I did it on global supply chains and logistics and trends and different technologies and how they disrupt different aspects. Blah 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 blah. So. All that being said, I have no clue where it's heading. No jokes.
Wow.
So everything I'm saying.
All that research for nothing.
I exactly. I put a lot of time to be able to say nobody no. Basically, it is halftime mark, so I had to spice it up a bit, right? Basically, there is a lot of technologies out there. There's a lot of things that technology can do. There's a lot of dangers in technology. There's a lot of, we saw it with the big the big scam, and not going to name the name, but we all know
what you're talking about.
We all know. Yeah, we all know, and then there's heaps of companies following in the same route, and I believe in tokenization. I believe in all that kind of technological advance. I believe that there is things to be done, but you have to do it in a very, very, very proper way with the right tools, with the right also government entities to supervise. They're not just bad. They're there to protect us from exactly stuff like that. So I mean, let's go on the low tech. I would call what we do is the low tech angle of things. This is in the end, you log everything. You just have those afterwards. You have different parts that can be more advanced, like you get AI and you get different parts. But this is all on your cultivation on the basic side. Now, everything that then opens the wild, open, vast creativity of the internet in a space like cannabis is, of course, prone to misusing. Is really something that people, and I've been preaching this for the longest time, you have to be on top even more. Again, it is cannabis. There's a lot of players in this industry that maybe do not have just the best intent for you. So really watch out what is there, where do I believe it's going? Again, I see technology as a massive enabler. And now I said the negative part because it's very important that people have this present. But there is a lot of really exciting things for us to happen in the future, be it, on the point of sale, customer interaction. What we have from the software wise is everything that went into into the batch that is produced. You have on the end product, you have a QR code. The QR code changes the information on a batch level. So you always have your COAs, you have your different data points, IoT, from be it the moisture content during the post-harvest processing and so forth. So you have a lot of information there that changes in a batch level and that allows you to make informed decisions as a consumer. And this is something that I'm really excited about, this whole aspect of, and this was initially also our main inspiration when we made the software, or when the idea came together, because the main inspiration wasn't how can we make a software that the government, has an angle to oversee. And again, we'll come to that later, only on very specific projects. Overall, and nobody, not even we, have access to the data because we're under European data laws, GDPR and so forth. It's not our data. That's also one of our big differentiating and competitive factors towards our American competitors. But so the whole thing was, once this industry is a bit more matured. It's not the regulator that allows what can be sold. It's the consumer that decides by making a qualified decision, by having access to the data of what went into the product that they're consuming, be it cannabis or others, that they will, based on that, make their purchasing decision. And that is the real power the consumer holds. And that's real power that the internet and new technologies and all of that hold. Is it can move away from certain. Also, it's not just about colorful, fancy names with big hairy animals that attach themselves to the street. No, I think you picked that one up, right? No, but it's in the end it's about what goes in there. It's about what fertilizers are so. It's about also, what is the soil, what is the medium that it's been grown on, and you know what? Everybody loves indoor, but if you look at the depth of terpenes and other minor cannabinoid development of flowers in the sun, or at least partially in the sun, so greenhouses, it is a completely different world of active substances, active ingredients within those flowers. So I see it going that direction. I see a lot of exciting things going in the direction of this much more exchange that will then actually harness and harvest the power of the group, of the audience, of the consumers much stronger, empowers them to also, by their purchasing power, drive the market in a certain direction, and not just, or hopefully they will stop to just follow, a couple of big fancy names that pop up everywhere, and kids wear their backpacks and think it's a jar full of, well, you also know where I'm going with that one.
Yeah.
So, so I really, I see a lot of power in that side, in the community side there, technologically, as technology as an enabler. I see, I'm not here to, this is not about CANNAVIGIA and so forth, but I really believe in the consumer should make a qualified decision on what they put into their body. We are very adamant about that, adamant to the point where we are about to launch something called Know Your Product, knowyourproduct.com, kyp.org, along the same lines as KYC in finance, because really that's in the center, and that's something that was near and dear to me personally, since it's been something that I've been, I made a restaurant for that. It's something that's been with me for the last decade. I mean, before that, I did furniture out of old recycled houses and boats and all kinds of things. So I bought rotten stuff, upcycled it. That was my first business. So this whole narrative is with me near and dear for a very, very long time. So, and I see the technology definitely as a big enabler for that. And I could go on for the next hour and a half about technology, different aspects, but I think that we had the potential dangers, which again, negative, and I want to highlight that again. It is still a lot of things like that out there. Nobody cultivates something online only. That doesn't, anyways, we're not going to go there, but just be aware.
Be careful. And I totally agree with you. I think that's so important, because it's so easy, especially for younger people, to be influenced by these big brand names, as you mentioned before, but there's so much more to it. And I think that's really where education comes in. And that's something that I think is still slightly lacking, whether it's by people doing business in the space or even to consumers. So I think Know Your Product is such a fantastic idea. Absolutely. Very excited to see what happens with that. And Luc, talking a little bit about education, I think that events kind of fall into that as well, right? Educating people. It also gives us a chance to network. We met in ICBC Berlin last year. I'm sure you remember we had a very entertaining experience at one of the forums. So I think this is also a chance for people to kind of get together, network, talk. You attend a lot of events. What do you think is the significance or importance of attending events globally, and do you think that more consumers should attend these kind of events as well?
Well, I mean, there's different events. Yeah, I remember that, by the way, that
How
funny
can we
encounter
ever
we had.
forget?
How can we ever forget? Well, no, exactly. How can we ever? And that's the funny thing, right? I mean, in the end, it's about little experiences like that where you can laugh about with someone for a long time, and that connection that is made in person to be able to laugh about something like that for a long time is you can't buy it and you can't get it online. That's for sure. So
Very true.
there is two parts. Let's take the B2B first, because that's kind of where I'm maneuvering, and then the B2C, because I think it's also important. It's very, very important. It's just not my focus of the business at the moment. But on a B2B side, you have the moment when you create your product. That is the moment when you want to be out there as a visitor to meet and mingle and greet and, validate your idea and then speak and potentially even meet future or customers or investors or whatever. So put yourself out there. If you're in the stage of your format, like you're still building or ideation or whatever you want to call it, then put yourself out there, go out there, challenge. You'd be surprised how open and honest some people give you feedback and how much it can bring you further, how you can meet the business mentor, how you can actually, be really beneficial on many levels. That's before you have a business or something set up. But that's just, let's call it the inspiration phase or whatever, that ideation phase before. Now, there's the moment when you have your business set up, you want to go out there and share and do the roadshow. And that's what I've been on the last year and a half, and it's exciting. It's also very exhausting, very taxing. I've been in London last week. I've been in Singapore, in Thailand 2 weeks before that, 4 weeks before that in Berlin next. So it's again, it's exciting. But it's tiring. It's tiring. I know it's easy to say, look, somebody's only standing on stage and speaking the whole time, but there's a lot of things that go into that. And that roadshow part also, that's where I think it's a big value in those B2B events, because you go out there, you meet on one side you meet the people that are on their research part, which can either bring you or further or in whatever direction you are, and it only gives you so much energy back as you put into it. So you got to be there morning till evening, meet everybody, never be too good or too bad or whatever you want to call it to meet someone and sit down with someone. Take every opportunity to meet with anyone and give them the time of day, which I think is super important. And on a B2B side, in the developing of the business, it gives you a platform to present yourself, which again is another verification of if you're doing the right thing or not, because you can still, you always have to be agile these days in your business. But really, there's so much that can be online. We're here online, and Melissa and I, we have met each other twice in person, right? Once at the investment forum, once at the other.
Yes.
But the one event, that one incident that we will be laughing out for a while. You can't. Yeah, but you can never have that confidence of later on being online in a chat room or in a podcast with someone as you would be if you met someone in person before. So that first initial point of contact. Having that first initial point of contact, and then later on the doors to that person are open. If you have a question to someone you haven't met before, it's always like, who's this person approaching me? If you met someone, be it morning 9 o'clock on a coffee, or 12 at lunch, or 12 or 10 p.m. over a cocktail. But you leave a mark on that, and then I believe very much in energy also. So there is also an energetic connection to that person. So at a later stage, this will help you when you need something. And when you need something, doesn't mean that you need investment advice or this, that. Sometimes it's just somebody thinking of you in another moment where you're not even aware that the person even has and then suddenly, boom, somebody calls you. Hey, by the way, this person has referenced you in this, blah, blah, blah. Can we? So you got to put yourself
Luc,
out there.
You want to come onto the podcast?
Yeah, no, exactly. I hope it's not just because of that.
Of course not. Makes our conversation so much easier, though, that we know each other.
Yeah, definitely. So so really just go out there. Do I think they should cost the amount of money they do? No, it's ridiculous. Sorry, I want to put that out there for anyone out you that hosts any different event out there. It's bunch of crap what you're charging. Sorry, like, every other word was not as nice. So you can't. Yeah, it's not helping the industry. It's not bringing people forward. And if you charge certain amounts, then at least make the catering worthwhile. So
fair point.
yeah.
Fair point.
And we'll leave that at that. And then I'll do a very quick wrap up with that for B2C. I think B2C is super important for consumers, especially now. It starts to go in the direction where you can learn also about the actual products. Before, it was basically paraphernalia and you know, all the other colorful things in the industry that could be bought, but now it really goes into a more educated towards the product. At least in some countries, a direction, and cannabis consumers are very good at you know, making an opinion without challenging things to the max, or challenging everything and making opinion without having given it the face to deal with it. And you know, you'd be surprised who are the people behind some of the brands that you know. You'd be surprised how approachable and humble at least most of them are, and that there is a family out there behind a family that is kind of holding this whole thing together. And these people travel together the world to bring the industry forward. And some do better, some do worse, some are going through the struggles right now, but in the end of the day, yeah, go out there, support them. Very important. That's what the industry is based on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I was fortunate enough to go, was it in March? Yes, in March, I went to the Cannabis Expo in Cape Town. Yeah, I met some of your SA team actually over there, which was quite cool. And
shout out to Wesley. Shout out to Wesley.
Yeah, shout out to Wesley. And yeah, there were a lot of consumers there, so that was really great to see, and it seemed like it was well supported. So I think that's a really great thing. And I just have to, you know, just on the topic of meeting your South African team, what are you guys doing here in South Africa? Because as a South African, obviously, I'd love to know more about that side of things.
We escaped the winter in Switzerland.
We've got good summers here. We barely have winter.
Yeah. No, jokes aside, of course, I mean, there is two sides of the globe, and there is agricultural products that need both sides. Whenever you know you want to have a stable global supply chain, then we had also, of course, well, that's the thing. It's not really an opening yet. South Africa is in between. They don't really know which way to go.
Yeah,
they have much other.
We're fighting the good fight, man.
you're fighting the good fight, but you have also other problems you're facing other situations, other problems at the moment. So I mean, when South Africa started to be in the beginning very much more CBD, Zimbabwe, Malawi, all the countries around, we're like, okay, we're gonna go down to South Africa, set up shop, and see where it leads us. We're very lucky to have been welcomed with open arms, and I've met such exceptionally nice people that really were like, look, we're producing here products with the idea to export it to Europe. Now, can you help us with this? What can we do to go? And we are not brokers, we're not trading, we're not on this side of the industry, but we provide services that allow you to stand out. You have traceability or compliance is something that just helps when you have a buyer, because the buyer wants you to have continuous, stable production. The buyer wants you to have the same quality output every time. The buyer wants to have security when it comes to batch release systems, quality control, you know, the COAs that need to be attached afterwards, that they're standardized, that they're not just randomized. And so will we help you sell your product? No. That's what we tell everyone. But will we help you through kind of like this platform that we have become also to potentially meet buyers, but also to be able to say, look, we work with a system that, you know, helps us to do things properly. It goes a long way. So we went down to South Africa 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, 2.5 years, 2 years ago. And I'd like to believe it's going very well.
That's great. I mean, we're, you know, here in South Africa, I think we all are just anxious to get things going. But yeah, as you mentioned, we do have a lot of other problems here, but we won't go into that. But going back to kind of Swiss cannabis, I know, I was speaking to Ben on, who does the kind of trade events and so on. And we were talking a little bit about the Swiss pilot projects. I know that's something you guys at CANNAVIGIA are involved in. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about this and what is happening with Swiss cannabis, and what can you tell us there?
Well, Ben, absolute industry legend. We just talked about conferences, B2B and B2C. He has done both for the last 20 plus years and has done very well, and really takes care exceptionally of from the consumer fairs, just the suppliers and stand in that direction, B2B. No, he's a very, very, very fine gentleman. Pilot projects in Switzerland. What an exciting time to be alive. No, but I'll try to do it a bit more compressed. And so basically, I mentioned this quickly earlier, to be able to sell legal cannabis or start an industry or start something around that in a country that is, under the UN Single Convention, you have two ways. One is to make a study. The other one is to declare it as natural medicines. Natural medicines could work in South Africa, or would work in South Africa, I believe, but I'm not a lawyer and not don't quote me here. And the other one is pilot projects. In German they call them Modellprojekte, but it's basically to create study groups that mimic a legalization, and then you have different theses. So the way this is set up in Switzerland, it's basically 5 + 5 year, 10 years span, where the government gives out licenses for cultivation, manufacturing, and all the supply chain part, but you have to be part of a project. A project can be in Basel, for example, it's 370 customers with 9 points of sale being pharmacies. That was kept very small and slow and very small and overseeable because it was the first one. They just wanted, they had this foresight of if we have it controlled in a way that we can just start, but it can go up to 5,000 people. But you don't want to start with 5,000 people because there's logistics and everything behind there. So, but what I really like about this approach was, right now you have different different legalization forms that have happened. Canada failed, 400 tons overproduction, still 60-70+% illicit market. The US still 70% illicit market after 10 years legalization. Holland, we're not even going to go there. You're not allowed to cultivate and manufacture, but you're allowed to sell. So that is a mess. And they tried to start pilot projects the last 6 years, and now they're fine. But they're on a good way. Holland is on a very good way, I have to say. But so what Switzerland said is, we don't have a blueprint for how this should work the ideal way. So what we do is we allow any stakeholder to come together and bring a thesis together how this can work. Stakeholder is basically, you have the health ministry, which we are the official partner of the health ministry, and then you have the canton, which is like state level. Then you have municipality level. Then you have police, addiction board, university, then you have cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, point of sale, and consumer. A lot of moving parts, but those are all the stakeholders that are usually part if you go into legalization. And what Switzerland did from the legal framework was, you can do anything. You can make edibles, you can make shatter, you can make flowers, of course. You have a certain amount, 10 grams of THC, that you can purchase per month, and but you can purchase that in different various forms. So it is actually the only stakeholder-driven, stakeholder-led market analysis that has so far happened globally. And if there is another one, please do let me know, in the cannabis industry, that allows for anyone to come together, come up with a thesis, why this should be better than that or whatever, and then and make their own little forms of small pockets of legalized, controlled environments. Because to have the exemption from the UN to do this, you need to say, I have 2,000 whatever customers. They were expecting them to consume this amount. So you have to then first register them, and then you have you can start producing for them. And Zurich, for example, is the second one that was approved. 2,100 customers, consumers. They're consumers. They're not patients. It is declared as non-medical. Very important for all the back and the things. So and there is 21 points of sale, and it goes from these from social clubs to normal like dispensary point of sale to pharmacies, and then we have these like drug distribution centers for methadone and stuff like that. It's not going to be in the same one, but the same principle of government gives you access to a substance that otherwise. And very key also in Europe always is and will be harm reduction is in the center. We're not here to create a speculative market like in the US or in Canada, where it's about, you know, let's you know, create a big hype and try to make a lot of short-term money on other people's backs. No, it's really harm reduction is in the focus, and people purchase their flower or whatever they're consuming. So it's really an actual study that is based on the same terms than the illicit market would be. And everybody was afraid they wouldn't get enough people to sign up, and I can tell you, plenty of people signed up.
I would have thought that lots of people would want to sign up. So yeah, that's amazing. That's fantastic. I think it's really, really cool. And as you said, you know, there isn't a blueprint and everyone's still kind of figuring things out. So who knows, maybe this pilot program could be a blueprint for other countries who want to legalize in the future. So I think that's really awesome. We're all just kind of figuring things out as we go along, right?
Exactly.
So Luc, as we are coming towards the end of our time today, let's look towards the future a little bit. What are some of your thoughts or predictions or hopes for the future of Swiss cannabis, CANNAVIGIA, and for yourself, Luc? Anything you're looking forward to in the 2023, for the rest of 2023?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's start with the industry and then go CANNAVIGIA and then go into my small ecosystem like this. We have a narrative there. Well, I think it's a very interesting and it's a great time for global cannabis. We've had that first boom. Any industry, and this is textbook economics, you have a boom, you have a bust, you have a boom, you have a bust, and then you have a small boom and you have market maturity. So I know cannabis likes to think everything that happens with us is special. It really isn't. It just maybe goes a bit further in one or the other direction, but in the end, it's textbook economics. So there's now a dip that we're going to go into another boom, hopefully. Germany has now just done their, at least they made a decision. I know there's a lot of dreamers out there, and I'm one of them where, can we not legalize overnight tomorrow? It doesn't work like that. The world unfortunately doesn't work like that. And also the repercussions that would follow a pure switch from one day to the other might be a bit stronger than the advocates against the people that are against. You don't want to feed them either, right? You want to give them something step by step that's pre-chewable. So now Switzerland has these projects ongoing. We have the first cannabis is going over the counters. It's January 30. So there is anybody that would like to have more information about that, please do reach out. And so Germany is going to go in the same direction now. We know from a whole bunch of other countries that are looking at the same direction, because it allows everybody to start on their pace in their respective areas, and it allows the people that want to really transform and do something, and not just like all the ones that we spoke about, the ones that will stay at home, will not go to the fair, but will just be bad mouthing for the rest of their lives about everything. Those are the ones that we don't really want to hear anything about anyway. So you step up and you try to be part of this, and then there's a lot of dynamics. A lot of things are going to happen in this year. I'm very confident of that. Or let's say movements are going to happen with at least a clear direction where it can go. Germany will take its bit longer for the next formulation of. They just brought out the legal the paper for homegrown, and the next stage is coming after the summer session. But so I see it's not the yay we're over the hill kind of like this race in cannabis is one that some people were dreaming and hoping of, but it's a step in the right direction. It's not a shut door. And I have friends in Switzerland. We almost legalized 20 years ago, and I was a bit young at the time, but some friends of mine have been doing this 20 years ago, and they've just got the door shut right in front. That we already had shops everywhere in Switzerland. It was basically already through. And then, so you want to also make sure that you don't overstep and speculate in the beginning before you have a framework. And at least now it looks like there's movement in the direction of knowing what direction you can go. Also, it allows the people to cultivate at home now in Germany. And Germany, I think, is a big going to be a big trendsetter for other countries that are maybe Switzerland was. So we are a very small country. We do have a great name, I think, to the outside, but we don't have the weight a country like Germany has in global politics. So for a politician in a country like France or Spain to say, well, but Switzerland did it, they'll laugh at him. But if he will say, well, Germany did it, they'll go like, oh, the Germans. So I see a lot of a positive potential dynamic in that direction. Thailand, of course, Asia. When Asia does something, they just do it, X10, X100, and whatever we can imagine over here. I'm going to be spending a lot of time there in the future, or time there again, hopefully more and more again in the future. So that's where I see the world shifting a bit in cannabis, I guess. Latin America has its point. Brazil just announced that they want to start with medical in Sao Paulo in very small pockets and medical production. It was already medical accessibility before, but production. So for flowers. So there's all these little pockets, common denominators. It's opening up, and that is the world. CANNAVIGIA. And it's very, very exciting. And it was the two co-founders, I know them both since I'm 18 years old. And
it's
really
like a family, right?
It is a family. One's been my little brother's best friend. The other one has been my cousin's best friend. And my brother and my cousin said, why do you steal our friends? But, they were just smart. They were just smart. And no, jokes aside, we've been on this journey together. We've been self-funded so far. It's been super exciting. We are now we're almost 40 people in the team. We're in 18 countries installed. We got a 10-year contract with the Swiss Health Ministry to be the preferred provider for all the traceability and to actually bring all those stakeholders into one platform. And so for us as a company now, the next little while, we have now 3 pilot projects in Switzerland that have been accepted. One is already in action. There's 10, 12 more coming that will keep a part of the company very, very busy. And then definitely the development in Asia is something that is really, really exciting for us. We do love South Africa. We do love our customers, our team down there. Unfortunately, I don't see the same development and we have to be realistic there, as in other parts of the world. Big shout out, big hug, big love to all of you guys, but and girls, but it's just unfortunately what
it is what it is, unfortunately.
It is what it is, exactly. It's not our fault, Melissa. It's not our fault. And personally, I'm growing up, I guess some would say, moving into the next chapter of life. So let's say less travels in the very near future for me.
Amazing. I think a lot of exciting things to come. And will you be attending in Berlin this year, ICBC?
I will be attending in Berlin. ICBC.
Hopefully I will see you there. I'm really hoping to come up this year as well. So hopefully I'll get to see you there again. Who knows, we might have another entertaining story to tell after that.
Do we tell it? I mean, in the end, anybody that has listened until now, we should drop that story.
Yes.
You want to go? It's not a lady story
away,
to tell.
Take it away. This is your interview.
Well, we sat at this investment forum pitch, and there was, these guys on stage doing their pitch, and I was sitting next to Melissa, and in front of us was, you call it flatulence? That is a good word for it. Let's just say a guy just had no shame, and the two of us looked at each other and we're like, It was like, I think you were like, was this you? Did this just happen? Was this you? Was this you? No, it definitely was not the was this you look, but we're like, this just happened, right? The guy didn't flinch. He did not flinch. And you know what? It was one.
Eyelid. It was so funny. I mean, and then we were like naughty little children trying not to laugh at a fart, basically.
Yeah, it was loud. Anyway, so and those are the stories you can only experience if you go out, if you meet the people, sometimes maybe sit behind the most proper looking gentleman and just be surprised what comes out of him.
One of a kind, attend events. These are the kind of things that happen, people. So Luc, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me here on the CanMar Morning Talk Show. It was really great to have you on, and I look forward to seeing what happens with CANNAVIGIA in the future, and hopefully in South Africa as well. That might take a little while though.
No, we're there. We're happy to support wherever we can. And thank you so much, Melissa, for having me. All the best. I do hope to see you in Berlin soon. And happy days. Thank you.
You too, Luc. Have a great day, and we'll chat soon.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching or listening to the CanMar Morning Talk Show. Join us next time for your weekly dose of cannabis and psychedelics updates from the industry's experts. But before you go, don't forget that at CanMar we specialize in recruitment and licensing and compliance for highly regulated industries such as cannabis, hemp, and psychedelics. Visit us at canmar.io to book a free consultation with one of our specialists today. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button to hear more juicy insights from the movers and shakers of the cannabis and psychedelics industry.